Welcome to the MenTell Health Podcast. I'm Tim, and I invite you on my journey to talk about men's mental health. Before we begin, as always, a brief disclaimer. I am in no shape or form a mental health professional. I'm just a man who wants everyone to talk more about men's mental health. So everyone, we've made it. This is episode 10 of my 10 episode series talking about myself and other things, but using my own journey as a bridge to talk about general men's mental health and get the ball rolling, so to speak. Because when I started this podcast, I didn't know what to talk about, so I decided to talk about myself. And hopefully this way encourage some other men to talk about their mental health more openly, and maybe even with me, so that we can share in our journey. Now, this is the final episode, and of course, just to give you a heads up, that doesn't mean that in the following episodes I will stop talking about myself. Anyone who knows me knows that that's never going to happen. But of course, I will still share my own experiences and my own viewpoints, but I will try to I will not try, but the topics will be also more general about things that affect men or other groups in relation to men when I may have not experienced it myself, but have done some research and other things to be able to talk about it. And obviously also, hopefully, many interviews with other men and their experiences with their mental health. Now, in this episode, I would like to give more of a outlook, because sometimes when we talk about our mental health, and especially when we talk about our experiences with therapy, it can come across as if this journey has an end. Whereas I personally don't think, and other people in my life tend to agree, that that journey never ends. Because on the one hand, it has something to do with personal growth, and we all grow forever, hopefully, and learn and evolve. And on the other hand, quite rarely is mental health something that is fixed very quickly. It can happen if you are in a very stressful and traumatic period that needs to be resolved and can be resolved in that with a quick, in quotation marks for the listeners who can't see me, and also for the people that see me, a quick fix that is, not together with the long-term therapy. Both have obviously benefits, and when I mean both, I talk about short-term therapy and long-term therapy. Short-term therapy can help with something, as I've just mentioned, that is in a high crisis mode, that is a very traumatic event that has just happened or very recently happened, and it can give very quick help. It can be very goal-oriented towards a specific goal that the person is trying to achieve at that time, at that moment. Sometimes it can also have something to do with the cost of therapy, as I've talked about in episode 2, and then in a different context again in episode 8. Money is a big issue when you talk about mental health, and therapy can be very expensive if you don't have the possibility that your insurance pays for it. And then sometimes the short therapy is the best way to, not go towards financial struggle, which then adds to your mental health problems in a form. Sometimes you don't want to have long-term therapy because you don't feel comfortable with the idea, and then short-term therapy is clearly the way to go. And especially when it is a therapy form that is based around the idea of teaching certain skills to cope with traumatic events or to cope with forms of mental health disorders. For example, the form of therapy that I had, CBT, it is about learning specific skills to deal with specific issues. And once you've learned these skills and practiced these skills and possibly, hopefully even internalize these skills, then there is very little point to continue that form of therapy. Doesn't mean it's pointless to continue another form of therapy, but that specific form of therapy should then come to a natural conclusion. The benefits of long-term therapy go then towards the other end. So you have because you are committing to a long period of time, you can spend a lot of time on very specific issues and on very specific themes and really go deep and dig deep and find out really core issues or core traumas or other things that have in some form, shape or form contributed to the current crisis or past crises or any other mental health issues, problems, or disorders. In a long-term therapy, there is a consistent support for you as a patient. There is a consistent source of outlet, source of support, but also a constant outlet that is not friends or family. That can be helpful to also get an objective third-party view, or to get someone that is entirely on your side when your surround system may not be. It can help be a long-term support towards long-term changes, long-term growth, long-term developments, long-term goals and issues that you are trying to achieve and accomplish. There is no one way that is correct. There's no, for this certain problem or for this certain crisis, you should definitely only do this or only do that type of therapy. Sometimes, depending on what kind of therapy the therapist is trained for or has specialized on, they will maybe tell you that their type of therapy is the one for you. And sometimes that might be true, and sometimes it may be not. So it helps to be really aware that you have options when it comes to therapy, because especially in some areas in my social circles, from other people's experience, CBT is, because it is such a great quick fix, it is prescribed, so to speak, very quickly and very easily, and then people are being told that now you learned the tricks of the trade, now you know how to deal with things, now you can cope with things, so now you're fine, just keep on doing these things and it'll resolve itself. And that is not always the case. Whilst I firmly believe, because it helped me so much and I've seen other people help it, that CBT is a good, in the moment of the crisis, help, I don't think it is something that is it definitely shouldn't be a therapy that you do for multiple years on end, and become an expert on the techniques even better than your therapist sometimes. And it cannot help with everything. There's different types of therapy out there. It helps to know different types, but it can be overwhelming because there's just so many. And of course, when you are struggling, it can be very, very stressful, very difficult to find out which one is the best for you. So it helps to, if you have the possibility, to try as many as possible, or to look into as many as possible and see which one might be best suited for you. I mean, best case scenario, the therapist or the mental health professional you turn to will give you the advice, but sometimes they don't know the whole story, and sometimes they're just a bit rubbish, let's be honest. Um, so it is difficult. But just to give you like an idea of the different types of therapy that are out there, you have, as I've just said, cognitive behavior therapy. Then a different type of that is dialectical behavior therapy. That is more emotions based, whereas the other one is more like negative thoughts and behavior based. You have acceptance and commitment therapy that encourages acceptance of difficult thoughts and emotions. You have psychodynamic therapy that it looks into your unconscious and any patterns. You have eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or EMDR, where rapid eye movement is used to help resolve trauma, um, to help not resolve but process trauma. There is solution focused brief therapy that is short term for a very specific goal, a very specific solution. You have narrative therapy where you reframe the story of your life. You have mindfulness based therapy, interpersonal therapy that focuses on interpersonal relationship, family therapy, art therapy, music therapy, animal assisted therapy, play therapy, group therapy, gestalt therapy that focuses on awareness of the present moment and an holistic integration of mind, body, and emotions. And the list goes on and on. And yeah, I even forgot to mention trauma therapy. It's also a very big area. Now, what would I do? It's a difficult question to answer. As I've talked about before, I did an extensive period of CBT therapy for roughly 2 years, in which I dealt with anxiety from being afraid of death and of dying, but also fear of heights, fear of making the wrong choices, and etc., and also for my depression, depressed phases. And that was really, really helpful. And a lot of things I can now deal with better and about myself because of this, and learned many techniques. But there are also some parts where the therapy fell short. Um, there is still a lot in me that I know, I've come to realize that still needs work. 2 years of therapy is long, and so I will not be doing it soon, but I will definitely do another form of therapy. I've had quite a few trauma time in my life. And, if you've listened to every episode, you probably don't want to hear about it anymore. But if you haven't, here goes. For example, my father was an alcoholic who beat my mom, then committed suicide when I was 4 years old, and then we moved around a lot. I had to switch schools and get um, comfortable with new people, and the father of my brother was. We use this term sometimes a bit too loosely, and I don't know if he officially be called a narcissist, but he definitely made me feel like I was um, less welcome in his house by giving me belittling me and giving me um, dehumanizing chores sometimes, and even he had this box installed between the cable that goes to the receiving cable and the TV. So that would between the signal that came on the antenna and the TV, where he had a key, and then he could lock it, and then the TV wouldn't work anymore. I don't know why he thought he needed that. I mean, he could have just unplugged the TV or taken. Anyways, that was a big control thing and things. And then yeah, moved around again after they got separated. yeah, I've been poor. I've been in a relationship that was not good. That's the last episode, so I'm not gonna rehash that too much. I've had people that I lived with had severe medical conditions. I had drug abuse. I'm sure there was more, but you know, talk about it. Yeah, I'm sure there was more that I've repressed. Um, yeah, difficult relationships with my sister. Or I have um, six siblings who don't talk to me because, yeah, I don't know why. I was four. They were my father's side. Um, they stopped talking to me because I wasn't worth it anymore. So they were pissed with my mom. So yeah, that also happened. And other things. It doesn't really matter. But I know that there's quite a few traumata I should work on. So I very, very likely will do some form of trauma therapy. Um, I have attachment issues that I've been dealing with my partner and also myself. Um, I have issues figuring out my feelings and emotions and articulating them properly, setting boundaries in a good way, in a healthy way, and self worth and figuring out what I want from life, or being able to see um, value in some areas of my life sometimes, especially when I'm highly depressed, which, it's quite obvious. Um, I have, sometimes can be a very addicted person. So, I smoked for 10 years and then I quit that all of a sudden because my fear of death helped. That was good, but sometimes I still really want a cigarette and I can't control that. But then I turned to food, and now I'm trying to work on that. So I need to, be mindful that I don't then afterwards fall into something else. There was exercise for a bit, but my depression helped me to stave that off. um, not, you know, not in the most healthiest way, but still. And there's all of these areas and things that I, would like to work on more and deal with more and just grow more and become a better person. Because maybe at some point in my life I also have children, and I would love for them to have a parent, besides if I have these children with my current partner, then they will have great parent there, but I want the other parent to also be great, so I need to work on me for that. And I want the relationships in my life to be as good as possible and be as good and a part of that relationship as possible. And I want to get rid of this, gender norms BS that, also still, even though I have, worked on a lot of that there's still quite a lot that I want to get rid of, where there's some such entrenched belief in me that I'm aware of and but still sometimes fall trap to. No, not fall trap to, fall victim to. Is that the right expression? Uh, don't. Mm. Yeah. So there's quite a lot that I want to work on. And some of it I can work on myself. Some of it I'm going to need help. And not all of that help can rely on the people in my life already. So there will be some professional help at some point. But then again, I already have my therapy. And with the current state of therapists, I always then feel, I had my help and I'm not in a very severe period. So maybe I shouldn't. But then if anyone else would come to me with the same conclusion, I would tell them, well, yeah, of course, there should be, in in the perfect world, everyone would get the therapy place they need and they want. But if you feel like you need one right now, or you want one because you want to work on something, and it happen to get a place, then that's great. Take it. Um, because hopefully the therapist will make the decision and say, okay, I have that space now for you because I have no one else who is more who needs the help more. Um, yes. 10 episodes now I have talked about myself. I've shared some of the um, most private and most vulnerable aspects about me and about my life. So, what do I think? I've thought about this a bit before. Well, not a bit. I've been thinking about it the entire way through. Can't believe the 10 episodes have already happened, which means it's been 10 weeks since I've started this podcast, and it's been 2 years and 10 weeks since I've had the idea for this podcast. Um, and I thought I would feel two things. One, I thought I would feel way more embarrassed by many of the things that I've said, but I don't. On the other hand, I thought it would be way more cathartic than it has been. There has been catharsis with this, but obviously I'm talking to an inanimate object here. I'm not talking to people, and I don't get any direct feedback, which is something that actually helps a lot with catharsis, is to work it through and get feedback. And I don't get any feedback. I just talk towards this camera. But it has helped in reaffirming my belief that if we'd all talk more about how we felt and who we are, and let men talk more about their feelings and be vulnerable, then that's already a good step to having the world be better and to get rid of some of the patriarchal systems that make the world a worse place for everyone. Men, women, people within the LGBTQ community, everyone. And the feedback I've become, not the feedback I've become, I didn't become any feedback. The feedback I got from this podcast has all been positive. There has not been a single negative thing yet from the world that has listened to me or watched me, because there's been so many people. It's been more than I thought would be, and I hope it will grow more and more and more. And I hope this encourages people to share their story, maybe with me, maybe just with the people around them. You can obviously share it anonymously with me as well, if you just want to be heard by me and other people. And I can just, I hope it encourages people to do this, what I've done and what I am doing, because it is great. It just makes the world better if we all do this. And I know that some people, especially some men, think that stop whining when people talk about their feelings. But give it a try and then see what happens, because it might feel weird, and it definitely will feel awkward. It definitely will feel like you take up space that you doesn't belong to you. Because, and as I will talk in a later episode, maybe even the next one, I'm not quite sure yet. When men talk about their feelings, it can feel like not our place to do, because we have another role to play, not a feeling role to play. But it is great because it just makes us connect more with other people. So all I can say is give it a try, give it a go. Talk to your spouse, talk to your friends, talk to your family, anyone you can talk to if you have someone like that in your life. And if not, you can always talk to me. There is many ways. You can message me on Instagram. You can email me. You can use the anonymous contact form on the website. And yeah, I would be happy to hear from you. And this was it for this week. Thank you very much for listening. I would be super grateful if you could rate and share this podcast. If on any of the Apple Podcast or other podcasting apps where you can give stars, give as many stars as you feel this podcast deserves. It's fun. If you watch this on YouTube, subscribe, give it a like, and share it with your friends and family. And maybe comment down below what you feel about the things I've said in the last 10 episodes. Yeah. And then I hope I hear. No, I hope. Yeah, as always, remember, I hear and I see you. And I hope you hear and or see me again next week. Goodbye.